Welcome to UBG Bytes.
Great to be here.
Today, we're diving into OpenID Connect, specifically some of the newer stuff happening, right? New connection types, and importantly, what that means for security.
Exactly. Think of it as a quick update, making sure you're aware of the evolving landscape.
We've been looking at materials from the OpenID Foundation itself, drafts, finalized specs like Core 1.0, the identity assurance stuff.
Yeah, the goal is really to unpack what these updates mean in practice, especially, the security angles you need to consider.
Okay, let's jump in. So OpenID Connect, it builds on O 2.0, uses claims for user info. We know the basic flows authorization code, implicit, the foundations.
Right, those are the building blocks. But what's new? Well, the foundation is constantly working. Digital credentials, EAP, iGov, MODI, RNA, lots of activity.
And updates to OpenID Connect itself.
Precisely, which means new features, new ways to connect, and new things to think about from a security perspective.
One of the big ones seems to be verified claims. That's in the identity assurance spec you mentioned.
It is. It's a pretty significant development. Essentially, it lets websites or relying parties ask for identity info that has a stronger guarantee behind it.
Like proving your age online, but with more weight.
Exactly, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
A standardized way to get higher trust for certain pieces of information.
So how does a site actually, ask for these?
They use a specific element, verified claims, inside the regular claims parameter when they make a request.
No.
It allows them to be very specific, which is good for data minimization,
Yeah,
only asking for what's truly needed.
makes sense. And where do these verified claims actually come from? Are they all from the main login provider?
Not necessarily. They can come directly from the OpenID provider. Those are called normal claims.
Okay.
But they might also come from a totally different claims provider, just pass through the OpenID provider that's aggregated claims.
Huh.
Or they could even just be pointers, references, telling the site where to go fetch the claim directly from another source that's distributed claims.
Wow, okay. So normal, aggregated, distributed, each sounds like it has different security things to worry about.
Definitely. The original core spec already had a lot on security request disclosure, tokens, TLS is vital. But these new methods add layers.
With the distributed claims you mentioned.
Right. If you're fetching claims from somewhere else, you absolutely need to trust that other endpoint. And how is it secured? Usually with access tokens. That connection needs to be solid.
Got it. And I've heard whispers about CAEP, Continuous Access Evaluation Profile. What's the deal there? Is that related?
It is, yeah. CAEP is aiming for more continuous security. Instead of just checking a login, it allows identity providers and service providers to share security events almost in real time.
Like what kind of events?
Things like session revoked if someone logs out everywhere, or token claims change if permissions are updated. It helps systems react much faster to changes, more dynamic security.
That sounds useful. Okay, so with all these new flows, verified claims, different sources, it's a lot to track. Is there an easy way to remember the key security points?
We could use an acronym. How about SEC?
SEC. Okay, what does that stand for?
Streamlined flows and new functions mean potential new vulnerabilities you need to look for.
Right. S.
Ensuring the assurance level. You need to carefully evaluate how much you trust those verified claims.
Makes sense.
And checking the source. Especially with aggregated and distributed claims, you absolutely must verify where that information is coming from.
SEC. Streamlined, ensuring, checking. Yep, I like it. Okay, time for a quick joke. Why did the OpenID Connect protocol get kicked out of the security conference?
Uh-oh. Why?
It kept trying to delegate authority it didn't have.
Huh. Nice one. Relatable, maybe.
So another tech detail, passing request parameters as JWTs. Using request or requestuary sounds secure, but what's the catch?
Well, the benefit is you can sign and even encrypt the request itself, which adds protection.
Yeah.
But it adds complexity. You now have key management generating, storing, validating those keys for the JWPs. It's an extra step, extra places for things to potentially go wrong if not done carefully.
Okay. And what about user privacy and all this? PPIDs.
Ah, yes. Pairwise pseudonymous identifiers. Using PPIDs for the subject subclaim is really important.
Why is that?
It means each website or service gets a different identifier for the same user. So you can't easily track that user's activity across different unrelated sites just by looking at the ID. It's a key privacy protection.
Good to know. So with all this complexity, new features, specs, how can developers or companies be sure an implementation is actually, Good.
secure.
That's where the OpenID Foundation's certification program comes in. It helps verify that an implementation actually follows the specs and the security best practices.
So checking for that certification is a good step.
It's a very good step, yeah. Gives you some confidence.
All right, so wrapping up, OpenID Connect isn't standing still. We've got things like verified claims, CAEP is emerging, offering more sophisticated ways to handle identity and security. Definitely. But with that sophistication comes new security considerations. Understanding the different claim delivery methods, normal, aggregated, distributed, and the security mechanisms like JWT requests and CAEP is crucial.
So you really need to stay informed and be mindful when you're building or integrating this stuff.
Absolutely. We've covered the highlights, but the specifications themselves, especially the security sections, are worth a deeper read if you're working in this space.
Okay, final thought to leave everyone with. As our digital identities become ever more central and we get these powerful new ways to connect and verify them, how do we strike that right balance? Keeping things robustly secure and functional, but also ensuring they remain user-friendly and protect privacy.
That's the ongoing challenge, isn't it?
Indeed. Thanks for joining us on UBG Bytes. Until next time, stay curious and stay secure.